Hello and welcome to Family DynamiKs. I'm Katherine.
I'm Liz.
And I'm Ed.
And John.
Okay, so here's the deal. We've got Mom with us. Mom, you want to say hi?
Hi.
There's Mary. She's going to tell us more about her HERstory. Is that what we say? We're HERstory as opposed to history?
Yes.
Well, it's our story.
Not yet.
Not yet. It will transition to that eventually.
We're not really up to that point. We'll catch up with her in just a second. I do want to point out that it is probably 100 degrees outside, and it's not super cold in here, but Liz is bundled up in a blanket.
It is cold in here. Well, I run cold, don't I? I always have run cold.
And I do too, but you have really.
Oh, as a child, one of my favorite things was to get the
blow dryer.
Well, the blow dryer was the immediate solo heater right underneath my shirt. But in my room, you'd walk in, Dad would sometimes almost faint because I would have a little space heater.
Cranked
I
up,
just would leave. I mean, how the house never caught on fire was a miracle. I had that thing on from basically
dusk till dawn.
Wait,
that's the reverse. No.
Dawn till dusk. And then I didn't leave it on overnight because I think that even scared me. But I had the corner lower room, which there was a huge tree there at the time. So it got very little sunlight.
It's also like the back corner, it almost doesn't get any sunlight.
Yeah, it doesn't
Right.
get
Still
any
pretty cold.
radiated heat.
So yes, my childhood backdrop could be white noise of a heater on at all times. That's my playlist, everybody.
A
Okay, so
slight
yes.
smell of ozone in the air.
Yes. So I do have a blanket on because I'm cold. But then I'll warm up and I'll have to come off. But I had goosebumps.
But for right now, it is very funny. Okay, so Mom, we had you on recently and we got through, if I'm not mistaken, and you can chime in with details, we got through, there was a pre-engagement, the unofficial no-ring engagement, which took place.
Which was on a chairlift.
A ski lift.
A ski lift, right.
A ski lift during the summer. So it was, a no-snow ski lift thing.
Gorgeous, really.
Dad had come up to visit
in the
you.
local California mountains, correct?
Had come to visit you. You were a counselor at Camp Maria Stella, which we're going to have to do a whole episode on.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, on Camp Maria Stella.
I'm still traumatized from that camp that you
It
sent
was
me to.
fabulous. I loved it.
It had
Well, at
changed
the
a lot
time.
by the time you sent your daughters there. But go on.
Well, and since you weren't a counselor anymore.
well, I was there as a camper first.
Did you go by Mary or Sandy?
Mary Frances when I was
Mary?
counselor.
I can't. MF? No, I can't with you. How many identities did you have, lady?
Hey,
Mary Frances.
That's not even your middle name.
Yeah, wait.
it's my confirmation name.
Oh, my
What
God.
a stretch-ola.
I love that, though.
I liked it. So,
I like the initials. You should have gone, isn't your middle name Evelyn? Mm-hmm. So you should have gone as me.
Well, that's how she signs a lot of stuff. M.E. Mary
Right.
Evelyn. Yeah.
I've never heard the MF. Oh, yeah. Okay, another
So
mystery.
Frances is your confirmation name? I had never heard that, Mom.
Which is Dad's full name, Francis.
Which I really regret now. My daughter, Sarah, she kind of gets annoyed because apparently there's lots of Sarahs in the world, which is ironic because when I named her Sarah, I had literally never met
it
a
was not
Sarah.
of our childhood.
Yeah,
No.
I didn't know any Sarahs.
I do remember going through kid names with you at KTTV back in the day. Like,
my God, that's so funny.
No, you can't do that one.
How about
Why?
Sarah
well, if you
Bernhardt?
get the nickname and
Yeah.
then it
Didn't know
rhymes
her.
with your last
I mean-
name, they'll be...
she's a famous actress.
I'm saying I didn't know her.
Well, that's true.
Yeah. I didn't know an actual Sarah. I'd never gone to school with one. I didn't have any. I was like, what? How is this
So it
a
was an
popular name?
unblemished name for you.
Right. So separate from that, I
Untarnished.
just had no idea that it was so popular. But nowadays, she will actually, give me grief about like, thanks for giving me like a super common name.
She didn't
I'm
want
like,
to be Francis, did she?
Well, that's what I keep saying to her. I'm like, I really missed the boat. I didn't even think of it, but Frances would have been a great name for her. What's that book series, the Frances book series,
yes.
where she's a badger and she's kind of got a
Bread
bad
and jam
attitude?
for Frances?
Yeah, Bread and Jam for Frances.
Sits under the table and sings songs to
Yeah.
herself.
Oh my God, the greatest book ever. And the tea set for Frances. Frances as a character being sort of a little bit persnickety, and I'm like, you,
clever.
Sarah. Yeah. Oh,
So,
Sarah.
Mom, if we had known about the secret Mary Frances, was
I
it with
would've-
an E as well?
And-
was with an E?
No, it was with an I on purpose.
Okay, so you were like a Francis.
After Francis of Assisi, which same as your dad.
Of course.
I didn't know him at the
Weird,
time.
full circle.
Yeah, and I used to pray to him all the time when I had bad dating experiences.
Oh wow, how interesting.
What?
Yeah.
I know it's a little connected, isn't it?
I really wish I had named Sarah either Sarah Francis. I like it as a middle name, or even just Francis, but she would have been annoyed either way, probably. Just
Well,
that's
of course.
Or Franny.
What you really don't know is the forefather of the Jewish Christian tradition and world. His wife's name was Sarah.
Oh, all right.
So she's the great foremother.
Is Francis like
Only
Moses?
mom, you'd have that.
I know. Is Francis
so nice.
is Sarah Moses' wife? No, whose wife? Isn't that?
Sarah is Abraham's wife.
Oh, Abraham.
Oh my gosh, Catherine, why didn't you
why
know
don't I
that?
So does that make
So-
I said it
Moses?
just now.
No,
You didn't say Abraham.
You did not
though.
say
You didn't
Abraham.
say Abraham.
Okay.
All right, so now you are up at Camp Maria Stella, rocking the Mary Frances name, feeling single and free at an all-girls camp.
Well, no, not single and free. They were pretty seriously dating.
Probably
And-
promised,
yeah,
right?
He was
Oh.
coming up on the weekends to visit, and that's when this unofficial proposal happened.
And this is about an hour and a
It was
half outside
official,
Los
it
Angeles.
just wasn't public.
Well, right. And you said, well, I'm using unofficial because there was no ring. So you were like, this was the pre-engagement only because there was no
I'm not
official
going to
ring.
rat a sister out by name right now, but one of your daughters did the very similar thing.
Really?
Yes.
Well, there's two of us here, and it's not us. So
Still not saying who it is.
good job. Okay. So we got that part of the story last time. Then you went back east with Dad. And
Wait, one clarification. When he come and visit you at Camp Maria Stella, which was an all-girls camp, probably mostly girl counselors as well, how could Dad visit you? Go out to dinner in Wrightwood? I mean, what would you do?
I'll go for drives and for walks.
Weren't you working?
it was her day off.
It was my day off completely. It started when I got up and I was supposed to be back by 10, and he wouldn't show up till about 2:30. He waited for the mail every day.
Okay.
Yeah. A little delay there.
And so then you were able to go out in the local little town and
Yeah.
have a date.
Yeah, sure. We went for a ride on the chairlift. You know?
Oh, all right. Okay.
And this
okay.
was during the time when you were secretly still together because your dad had broken you guys up or thought he had broken you up, and you were secretly together still.
Yeah, I think we didn't really reestablish that until school started.
Right. So then we got the story of you and our dad talking to your dad and officially getting permission to be dating again, right? After he had broken you up, but you hadn't really broken up. So the secret dating life of Mary Frances. Okay. So
It was terrible.
I mean, it's just fraught.
Because how old were you at this time? Just for
19.
So you were an adult.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Supposedly.
But still living.
I mean, wouldn't you have a fit if one of your kids at 19 was getting married?
Yes, it was a different time though. I mean, and
I was actually old for getting
Right.
married when I did.
but unless you were going on to college, and then most women after
she was in-
college,
yeah, she was in college at the time.
right?
So then you start back college that September or whatever, and then you have the trip back east. And at this point, you are not officially engaged because there's no ring. So you go back east with Dad.
Why wasn't there a ring?
Because he didn't want me to be distracted. I had a lot of school left.
What? That's
right.
That reeks of malarkey.
No, you gotta, there's something about Dad that I don't think you fully appreciate, and that is he encouraged me in all the things that I did. He was very encouraging right until the point it became an inconvenience to him.
Well, okay.
And it was,
Most of the stuff you were involved with seemed, in our view of childhood, was a distraction to him. So, okay. You kept doing it, which is kudos to you, but it seemed like it distracted him.
when I finished college, had James was doing really great. He says, "Do you want to go back to school?" I thought, weren't you paying attention? I mean, I really didn't like it. I didn't go back until I was 40 or something, 40.
Right.
Actually went back a couple of years before that because I finished my credential when I was 40.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, because John was born around the age of 40. So you were already
Finishing up.
Yeah, I remember that. Okay, so
So you go back east, and then at that point,
without a ring.
Without a ring. While he was back east, he went and investigated some ring situation. You kind of explained that a little bit. Then you come back, and he proposes after your birthday, which is in April. Is that right?
On my birthday.
Oh,
I
on your
turned
birthday.
20.
Turn 20.
I guess, was it 20 or 21? No. Yeah, I think it was 21. I turned 21.
No.
How long were you engaged for?
Oh, minutes.
No, then you were 20, because I remember thinking
Yeah.
that you were I don't know what the legal drinking age at the time was.
21.
You couldn't even legally drink at your own wedding.
Well, I drank before that. I know, because my father offered
scandalous.
me a drink at that birthday. And he said, while still holding the drink, not letting it go, said, "You honestly telling me this is your first drink?"
Was it?
Nothing said.
Yes.
You think it was 20 or 21?
Well, let me see. It's easy enough to figure out. It was 64. Yeah, it was 21.
Okay, then you could legally drink at your wedding. Oh, John, checking the math.
Don't worry about what's happening in the corner. I'm just thinking.
All right. Because I'll speak for myself, not strong in the mathematician area. So
But to be clear, if that all adds up, which that seems to make sense, married in 64, James is born in 65.
Yeah.
So within that next
There
year and
you
a half,
go.
right?
Okay.
And you're born 21 years prior to that in 43. So that all tracks. The good news is she'd been 21 for a month and a half or 2 months before she gets married. So lots of experience.
Whoa. So he proposed to you on your birthday.
We
put
just
the
made
ring.
it official.
Okay, and how do you make it official?
You know, it was just perfect when he proposed, and lovely. I can see how it was as if I was watching it as well as I was going through it. And
The ski lift proposal.
I have no idea what he did on the 4th. I mean, I was 21. We had this nice dinner with my parents. Then we came home, and my dad did the whole thing with the drink, which was just, oh, you nasty guy. Why'd you do that?
He was testing
You didn't drink at your dinner at the restaurant that you went to?
Maybe we had a drink before we went
I
to
think
dinner.
I think you had a drink before you went to dinner. That makes
That's
more
probably
sense.
right. I don't remember.
Why do I feel like there was something that happened at the Santa Monica Pier and the big Ferris wheel there? I don't know why.
That's somebody else's life.
Well, one of our sisters did get engaged, I think, on the Santa Monica Ferris wheel. Why?
Isn't it Carmel?
Forget it. But I guess I do remember the story of him being on the chairlift with you and threatening jokingly to push you off if you said no.
No, I asked him why he had asked me up there, and he said because you'd be too afraid not to say yes, because
Oh, jeez.
just dump you off, right?
Right.
Do you remember when roughly you graduated? Was it a May graduation or was it a June?
Early
Okay,
May.
so a May graduation with an April birthday.
And a July wedding.
An immediate turnaround wedding.
And I'm only saying this because we have had a bit of this story that Dad was helping you finish write papers, and there was, I don't know if there was a concern about that at some point with your dad, and him staying super late. But it makes sense that maybe you didn't totally track that single birthday and every event because you were in the middle of the last quarter of college.
Yeah.
Or the last
Yeah.
semester of college.
Yeah. It was whirlwind.
A
Yeah.
whirlwind.
And what did this ring look like when it finally got on your finger?
A 1 carat, perfect, regular,
Round.
classic diamond.
Nice.
And I really wanted something else.
Yeah,
but
didn't you say you wanted an emerald cut or a princess cut or some other shape?
marquee, I think it was.
Oh, marquee.
Which is really out of fashion now, Mom.
Yeah, well, see, I was spared that. Your dad really picked out the silver, picked out the china, picked out the ring,
Well, very backy aesthetic, too.
And
Very
really-
classic.
and very, very much everything. I mean, he was not a pushover when it came to names. He really kind of chose them himself.
Oh, really? Very interesting.
All right, so you get the official engagement with the ring.
Right.
And
You're
now-
wrapping up school.
Wow.
Where did the job come in?
I
Did you have a graduation?
I have 2 things
Yeah.
Okay.
to tell you. Number 1 was the last paper I wrote on Saturday morning for the Sunday graduation.
Oh, geez.
Procrastination.
Oh, yeah.
How'd that even work? I mean, that should have been like considered late.
Well, they weren't going to, bounce me out of graduating before
okay.
that. That was...
Well, in writing a paper, there's a lot of research and working on it. She's saying like typing up and finalizing writing the paper on the Saturday before the
gosh.
graduation on Sunday.
Yeah, because I'm sure she turned in tons of pre-work.
Well, no, but she might have done some
Well, actually,
pre-work.
each of us had to do a presentation
Oh.
to whoever showed up to listen to it.
For what class?
One of my sociology classes.
Oh.
Okay,
So
so
did you do a presentation?
Oh, yeah.
And that was before this Saturday writing paper?
Yeah.
Hey, Mom, I understand the lateness on writing a paper. One class in college that I took It got all the way down to the final end. The teacher's like, so do you have that paper that you owe me for this project? I'm like, well, I did the presentation, so I know the material. Took the test, got the grade on the test. Didn't write the paper. All right, well, it's a letter grade down. I'm like, great, pass. See ya.
That would have been lovely.
As long as I still pass.
That's the trade-off is I didn't write the paper, I passed class. Good, done.
No, there's definitely procrastination in our blood. But
Yes.
So you're finishing this paper. Was there an actual graduation commencement?
Oh, yes.
Cap and gown? Because it was
Cap
all-
and gown,
oh.
marching around the mount. It was beautiful.
Oh, nice. So that's
Came
a
through
real.
the colonnade up into the grass and
I do remember going to, you got your master's at Mount St. Mary's and going to that graduation.
Yeah.
Beautiful campus.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, so back on track. We're going to pick up with, I am very interested in somewhere in there you must have gone and interviewed for a job because your wedding is on July 4th.
Wait, back up a little
wait
bit.
Okay,
minute,
all
wait a
right,
minute.
all right.
We had only 9 people in our department. So, of course, we're all kind of chummy and,
Department, you mean?
In college.
In college?
The department we were
The major.
studying.
Okay.
And this one gal, you know her, Roberta.
Oh.
She asked
She taught me in 7th grade, I think.
Yep. And she asked me one day, toward the end of school, I can't remember, a little bit before April.
What was your major?
I actually am the only graduate in 1964 wrongly recorded in the yearbook as graduating in sociology. And the reason was they had a pre-social work major, and they had you do a whole lot of field work. Well, I couldn't do it because I had to help pay for my tuition.
Oh, and you were working
And
at the
I was
restaurant.
working, and I also didn't have a car, so that I couldn't get any place. So that was hilarious. Dad bought me a car and then didn't let me get a license.
What?
And then it sat on the driveway for several months, and evidently the brake fluid drained out, and it rolled down the driveway into Frank's car.
Oh,
So, okay, so when you say dad, you meant your dad.
her dad, yeah.
My dad. And Richard came in to report the event because he'd just gotten home from someplace
Your
and saw
brother. Mm-hmm.
it. And he just thought it was hilariously funny. Frank acted like I'd killed his mother.
Well, was it the Mustang?
No, it was
The Volvo, maybe?
Volvo.
Well, I mean, that is just one of those, how did this happen? But why was
But
he
also,
parked
how
in front
could
of
it
your
be
driveway?
fault? It's also not your fault that you're not even
we were
driving
in the
this
house
car. Like, what?
working on a paper.
Oh, jeez.
Do you remember what kind of car your dad bought you?
It escapes me at the moment.
What it wasn't new. It was like old and used, I'm assuming.
Yeah, it was pretty good. Wasn't anything to get excited about, but I wasn't having fits like Rosemary
Well, you
was.
you can't get excited about it. You weren't even allowed to drive it.
I was when I was 21. The day I was 21, I went to the DMV and took my driving test and passed.
Oh, good job.
All right.
Back to your.
But what was your missed?
Yeah. Your major was-
attributed a major.
So everybody else was pre-social work, and I was sociology.
because you couldn't do the field work. They
Yeah, and
sort
so
of,
they just gave me a couple of extra classes in sociology, which they could, that I hadn't taken, and it qualified it as a major.
Oh, interesting.
All right, so I find it curious, that's the Love Life events. So who was planning the wedding? How did that I mean, normally in today's times, to turn
You take
around
a
a
year.
wedding for a couple hundred people, in your own backyard, that's going to take some time, but you're talking, you did that in like 2 months. So how did this who took over the wedding planning and how did it get pulled off?
Well, this is how well it was planned. 6 weeks ahead, we sent out the invitations.
Also for 4th of July.
Wait a minute,
people
wait a
don't have
minute.
plans.
Wait a minute. We didn't get to finish the story about Roberta. So Roberta comes up to me, flashback to
College.
beginning of April, end of May, March. And she says, I want to take the civil service exam, and could you drive me? Because by that time I was driving. So I guess it was in April. And I said, sure. Thinking nothing of driving downtown. And
Brand new driver,
and
but
I said,
downtown, sure.
What's the reason? She said, well, I want to work in the probation department, and you have to take the civil service exam. And I said, having decided when I was a junior in high school that was a fascinating kind of career, I said, oh, I was thinking about that really seriously. I'll take it too. So I took it, and I passed.
Good job.
And she didn't.
Oh, no. Oh, jeez.
baby.
Oh, Roberta.
Oh, and she's been a dear friend ever since. She's one of the people that has really maintained, and we've gone out to
Is she one of
lunch.
our godparents?
Yeah, no, I don't think so.
No.
She's, I love
we
you.
had,
Like,
we had too
maybe,
much
no.
family, you know? And there's
I don't have a family member. I don't have family
no,
members.
I
yeah.
know. But at the time, it seemed like it had to be family members or in some way
Right.
attached. We spent a ton of time with those people before
Right.
you were born. Anyway, so I went and I passed the exam, and that meant you could go in as a probation officer. Let's see how it worked. You went into an institution,
Like a jail or a prison?
like a jail or the women's facility or the juvenile facility or whatever it was, and you did some, apprentice type work. And then after a certain amount of time, you could take the test to be a field officer.
Oh.
I only wanted to be a field officer, but the institutional assignment was I would start in August, and my hours were from 11 to 7, so 11 a.m. So, get up leisurely, lovely, get to work before everybody's leaving for lunch, and then come home after all the traffic. There wasn't that much in those days. So it sounded great for just newlyweds. And we could have a month off before, more than that, before
You had to start
I
work.
had to go
Yeah.
work. So 6 weeks before the wedding, we sent out the wedding invitations. And then after that, I got a call that I'd been upgraded to a special training program. They only took 32 people out of the whole pool of the people taking the civil service exam for this. And they put those people into a special training program that they had been pioneering to go right into the field when you finished.
Which is what you wanted.
And it started, guess when? July 1st.
Oh, before your wedding.
And so I would be working the weekend before we got married.
Oh, geez.
I mean, the week before we got married on that weekend.
Oh, geez.
And I was just
Sounds just like a government job. Oh, is July 4th 3 days away? You start July 1st. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Anyway, and your dad said, as I said, he was always very encouraging. And he said, oh, yeah, you got to do that. That's a really special, opportunity.
But I just want to say, even for the time, you two weren't living together. You were still. So
no.
I know. No. So you're going to also have to move in with your husband because you're not going to go back to your parents' house after you get married.
Yeah.
So now you've also added in. You're going to
There's
start a new job.
hysterical part about that.
All right. So back up. So that's fascinating. So now, poor Roberta did not pass the test. You did, and you're going to start this whole new career on July 1st. In the meantime, who is planning this wedding?
Does it sound like anybody is planning?
Not really, but I mean, like, who's picking out flowers and food?
Mom must have gone and picked out the invitations. I don't think I had anything to do with it.
And how many people were invited?
There were about 200.
Jeez.
In your family's backyard in Brentwood.
Brentwood. When I walked into that house, which I was a junior, I wasn't getting married to anybody at the moment, but I walked into
A junior in high school or college?
No, college.
Okay.
We moved every 2 years.
Yeah, I know.
And so I walk in, and there's this lovely, hedge and an opening in the hedge, and you go into the house, and you walk right into, a little reception area, but huge living room with a vaulted ceiling with painted rafters. I mean, it was just gorgeous. And big French doors opening out onto this flagstone patio. And I looked at it and I said, great house for a wedding.
But you weren't even dating Frank at the time, our dad.
Probably not. Or just at the beginning. And then outside of the flagstone patio was this huge green expanse of beautiful trees and grass, and it was just lovely.
So the decision, have the wedding in the backyard.
Yeah. And my dad had opened a business the weekend before.
Before the wedding?
Yeah.
Oh,
What
good
business?
A restaurant.
Another restaurant.
Which one?
I think it must have been the Big Beef.
Steakhouse. Wow.
Oh, wow.
Well, it was wonderful because, he had access to all the booze that was down.
That's what he was really up to.
He could import all this stuff.
Write it off. It's just a catering event
He
at my
was
house.
crazy. And so we went for fittings on a dress, picked out a dress. I don't remember there being even much about it. It was, we were happy with it. And I think it was slightly off season. So it was, maybe a sale.
Yeah, very
or
few people are
something.
getting married in July in Los Angeles because it's hot. But you picked a national holiday, 4th of July, where people have other plans usually.
Well, Dad figured that's when people were free to make plans. He let them know 6 weeks ahead. And in those days, people didn't plan much more than
A family
3
barbecue.
or 4 weeks ahead.
Yeah,
even
and
if
so
they had a
because then
trip.
his parents, who lived back east, and his sister are going to have to travel here.
Yeah.
along with probably all the extended relatives on the Couture side as well.
I'm not even sure that some came. Oh, a lot of their friends and stuff came. They had the best party.
Your parents' friends, you mean?
Yes. And it became hysterical because they come out and somebody would be saying something about Frank and everybody turned around and say, Frank who?
Oh, that the wedding was for? Oh, God.
Well, I mean, this was after the wedding. And, so they were just having old friends time. And Frank who,
Yeah.
It was just a party.
So you then, so your mom is taking the lead, we think, along with your dad, probably playing. Dad
was up to his here with opening the restaurant. He was crazy.
But he was probably in charge of food and beverage, just
Yeah.
probably going to bring it in, like I said, from
Yeah.
the restaurant.
And he brought in the bartender.
Nice.
Bartended, which was great.
More than one,
and then
I
he
think,
had
for
to
200
leave
people.
at some point during the reception.
to go to the restaurant, probably.
That's right. Some crisis.
What?
Yeah, some crisis. I don't remember.
All right, was it
Who cares,
Was it
you
a
know?
buffet? Was it a sit down? Like, how do you remember?
No.
Yeah, because I'm like, those are crazy details. There's a lot of people in someone's backyard because you didn't get married in your backyard. You got married in St. Monica's?
No.
Which
The
church?
one up in, it's on Sunset and almost where the school goes up.
I thought that was St. Monica's, no?
No. It's St. Martin of Tours.
Oh, okay.
Well, it's
Nice.
brilliant. I could remember that. Are you
I
kidding?
mean, you only
job.
got married there.
Well,
I
It's
know.
been a few years.
it's been a while.
They had a beautiful window of the sacraments. They had,
Stained glass.
windows, and people picked different things. And they had the sacraments.
Oh.
So they had a wedding.
Was that your parish, though, that you...
Yeah.
Okay.
Again, first Sunday we walk in there, I look at it and I think it's octagonal. So that means the aisles go in many directions, right? And not a huge, like the St. Monica's aisle of, you think you've seen your whole life flash before you.
Getting down it.
Yeah, to walk down that aisle
that
very
was
long.
just
Yeah.
crazy. And so walked into the church and went, oh, great church for a wedding.
Ah.
So St.
sure
Martin
enough.
of Tours
St. Martin of Tours. The other day I couldn't remember that name. Anyway.
came up. And so you have the wedding there. Was it in the
And
morning?
how could we even plan that with the church? In
I
that
don't
many
know.
weeks?
This is like a miracle because no one was getting married on 4th of July.
Probably.
Was it a Saturday, I'm assuming?
Yeah.
Okay, Saturday.
Still,
so you had
4th
2
of
days,
July.
3 days of work?
No, yes, because they didn't ever give you like this Friday before or the Monday after when the 4th of July or another national holiday fell on
Yeah.
the weekend, which they do now, but not then. Anyway, and they let me go home half day.
On a Friday?
How nice.
Lovely.
She's getting married tomorrow. Good luck, dear.
Oh, that's interesting. You didn't make fast friends with someone at work that made it to the wedding, did you?
No.
Ah.
She's dealing
Nobody
with
from-
criminals. No,
I,
just
I meant like coworkers,
No,
not
3
like
days.
parolees.
We didn't see any criminals until halfway through the program.
parolees is probably the more PC
Term.
term. So then that's Friday night. Did you have a rehearsal dinner?
We had a rehearsal dinner at St. Martin of Tours.
Oh, at
I
the
drove
church?
myself up myself. And we went to celebrate. I don't know where.
The beef?
No, I have no.
I'm surprised your dad didn't make you go to his restaurant.
So you had a rehearsal at the church and then you went somewhere for dinner.
Right.
Did your parents belong to a country club ever at that point?
My dad worked his ass off.
Well, I know, but
our entire lives.
I know, but it does also seem like something he'd
And
be
we
into.
had a pool, but
Yes.
not at the Cliffwood House. Mother
The country
didn't
club
really
seems
care.
like something he'd be into sidling his way into for free, not actually paying for like, oh yeah, no,
remember
I was at the country club.
Holiday Inn
Club?
swimming club,
Yeah.
and the day he died, they opened it up to the public if they wanted to sign up as members.
Oh, really?
It was like it was a gift straight from him.
Well, that's where I literally have one of my full, very strong memories of your father pulling a grift, and just going along with it. The two cute kids, Rosie and I. Rosie and I were in tow with him a lot on these adventures. It was hot as hell in the valley. and we did not have a pool. So he decided he was going to be a guest at the Holiday Inn, and we're going to walk right through the lobby, swim in the pool, have lunch. I mean, Rosie and I thought this was fabulous, but we are looking at each other like, we are not guests here. We do not know how we're doing this. And that is lead with confidence and just act like you belong.
Someone walks up, charge it to the Underhills. Okay.
If there's ever an opportunity, there's a great story about my dad pulling that kind of thing
we'll
off.
have to do. I mean, because I'll say Rosie was much more skittish about it. It's where I was like, yeah, this makes total sense to me, which was a real precursor for my life in some ways. Fake it till you make it. All right, so now you've had a rehearsal, more traditional rehearsal, and rehearsal dinner.
I leave my car up at the church to go to the dinner, and the next day my father says to me, "Where's the car?" And I said, "Oh, I left it up at the church." And he said, "Well, you better go get it." And
The
leave it
day
here."
you're getting married?
I think we came home when he said this.
Oh, okay.
And it's up at the church. We better go get it because you're leaving it here.
Oh,
What?
wait.
Wait, what?
He's taking the car back after you get married?
What? Come on.
And I had to drive to downtown Los Angeles.
Oh,
So
my
you and
work.
Dad, basically, our father, had to figure out a car for you immediately.
And he went to an auction and he picked out a car that I hated.
Well, that was on trend for Dad for most
and
of our
brought
lives.
it home, and it was like, but the point was we're married, and he didn't even consult me.
That was going to lay out for the rest of your relationship in some regards, some stuff.
A lot of times, anyway.
Okay, so now you've had the rehearsal dinner. You've had to go back and pick up your car.
Now, and I had a reputation for being late for things. I was often late for school, etc.
Had?
And so I'm ready like 20 minutes early.
nice.
Which I think is really good. And I go out and I get myself seated in the car with my gorgeous dress and everything. And my dad walks by and he's in his work clothes because he's been setting everything up.
Oh, okay.
Right.
I said, "We have to go." So we were late.
Oh, no.
But
But
it
it wasn't
wasn't-
your fault.
Yeah, but no one believed it.
Well,
And I thought that was so crummy. Really made the effort.
but he's opening a restaurant and throwing a party / wedding. I mean, most
his
people didn't even know
house,
who Frank was, but in his
case we're-
backyard for 200 people.
In
Yeah.
case we were worried that the pylon wasn't genetic.
Oh, jeez. The pylon.
Yeah, meaning pile one thing on top
I mean,
of
that's
each
Yeah.
other.
Rosie, our sister, will call herself out. Will call me out on it, you on it. Like, as you're trying to rush out the door, add on one more thing.
Yeah.
Pile on one more thing. It's like, no, just get out the freaking door. So,
That's one of the things that I wanted to say to you about a previous podcast where you were making like all kinds of fun about my being late. Several years ago, I stopped that. I'm not usually late. To your house, I'm not on the clock, but you're not even in the kitchen. You're getting ready, so I don't feel bad. And when Dad died, I had a little relapse, but I've done much better on being on time.
I think you can say much better, but it's not completely cured, but much better, yes.
Yeah. Well, let's say it's discretionary.
Yes.
I say, I really don't need to be on time for this, whatever it is.
Okay. So now you are late to the church, but you make it there.
We do. And
Who are your bridesmaids?
Yeah, who are your bridesmaids?
Was Roberta? Was Roberta?
Therese.
Well, actually, if you backtrack, there's 2 bridesmaids parties, one of which I know Roberta threw for you, right?
Yeah.
A
And then
shower or a bachelorette type of vibe?
No
I
shower.
don't got those details.
No, it was a shower. There was no such thing
Like
as
a luncheon.
bachelorette.
So like a luncheon, like a brunch.
Afternoon, lovely. It was just gorgeous.
In your parents' backyard?
No, in her house. She had a lovely, lovely home.
Oh, nice.
Her parents.
And that's
So,
Roberta.
Roberta. And
Why have I
but she
never met
wasn't-
Roberta? And she's still alive and like taught Eddie and lives in the valley?
she does. Uh-huh.
What?
And her,
I've never heard
her
of her
daughter
before this.
lives just up the street, has twins.
I would be the only family member that probably would have heard of her because she was a teacher of mine. There's not a lot of other crossover than that.
Yeah, no.
I think
Okay.
I've seen her come over to the house like twice.
Shout out, Roberta. We want to meet you. Okay, so
But
now
sorry, not a bridesmaid, right?
No.
she didn't make the cut and she threw you a shower. I'd be bitter to this day.
I had a very good friend who ended up moving to British Columbia. I lost touch with her entirely.
And yet Roberta is still around.
I know, that's how
Wrong
life is.
choice.
It's so sad that we do those things. Anyway,
Roberta, I have your back.
Okay, so wait, start from the top. So your sister Therese,
and Judy.
and Judy, Dad's sister.
Who you had only met one time at this
Well,
point?
you had sisters of the husband.
Yeah, I get it. And she was younger significantly, right?
No, just 1 year. Oh,
Right.
she's 1 year older.
Then you. Oh, okay. Got it. All right.
Yeah, so that was the big surprise that her brother was marrying someone younger than her, whom he couldn't be bothered with. And she was such a little tiny thing. And then the person that moved to British Columbia, and my roommate from when I was away in college, my freshman year, we stayed in close touch for several years. Then I lost her. I don't know where she went. So I think I had 5. Did I tell you 5?
That sounds like 4, I think.
Jill.
Oh, yeah, Jill.
There you
Jill
go.
was a friend from 6th grade.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Jill's no longer with us, right?
No, she died
Yeah,
a couple of
bless
years
her.
ago.
Yeah.
She's still with us in stories.
Yes, Jill actually was around, would make appearances every other year.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember Jill growing up. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, all right. So those are your bridesmaids. Wait, what color were the bridesmaids' dresses?
That has to do with the availability for planning.
Oh.
I wasn't particularly. So I went with her to look at some dresses.
Went with who?
Isa was going to be
Oh, he is another bridesmaid.
was the person that used to kind of cover for me when I was dating Dad.
Isa? I don't remember this
Isa?
person coming up at all.
Oh, she's a wonderful story all by herself. But anyway,
Is she still alive?
oh yeah,
Where does she live?
New Mexico.
I mean, this is
This is a revelation. Wait, so why is she lovely all on her own? Who is she?
Is she the one we visited in
Yes.
New Mexico? Hmm.
Yes. She was somebody I met in college at the Mount, and I didn't really know her in the first semester I was there, and then the second semester we'd start doing stuff together. I don't know how that started. But she had been a princess at Loyola, and she was just this darling, short
When you
of
say
What do you
princess,
mean a princess at
at
Loyola?
the homecoming.
Oh, okay. Like in the princess court at a homecoming.
because Loyola was
thing.
an all boys school
Right,
at
so
the time.
she was, really amazing. And so anyway, we're having all this fun, and she asked me to come to her baptism at Easter. And I said, what are you talking about? And she said, well, I'm going to be baptized at the Vigil Mass, which was before they did that. She had it arranged in a Carmelite cloister, which was really unusual. But anyway, so I said, well, how's that? And she said, well, I'm Jewish.
Surprise!
Surprise. It was like, oh, really? And as I came to find out, it's typical for some area of Russian Jews to be blonde and blue-eyed. So not your usual
That's why I was a
image.
star in Fiddler on the Roof. I thought I was maybe miscast as a blonde, blue-eyed, and then you were the one that told me that. You're like,
Don't worry about
actually,
it.
there is a whole, you can be blonde, blue-eyed, and so Fiddler, sunrise, sunset. Okay, anyways.
I think the father sings that song,
I don't.
actually.
Who knows?
I know that because I remember I was being very touched by it. But anyway.
Okay, so Isa is.
So Isa was,
getting baptized.
yes, and then became very instrumental in my junior year, and we did a lot of stuff together. So she and I went and looked at dresses, and we picked out one that was quite simple and kind of quite nice. And I said, just don't get yellow
Oh, for bridesmaids' dresses.
because I look horrible with yellow. She got yellow.
Maybe she just didn't remember that you had said that. Oh.
No, she liked yellow.
So all the girls were in yellow.
They were all the same dress.
Now, the reason why we asked this question, there is a wedding album that exists,
but it's black and white.
and it is photographed by a very famous photographer, Bob Willoughby. But it's black and white, like you just said. So there is some components of it missing.
Yeah,
I
you don't
never
really-
knew. I
They
mean,
were yellow.
which is so ironic because there was a famous yellow dress that all of us girls wore. Inevitably, I think I had a sty in my picture, and so did Rosemary. Like this yellow
your eye.
dress
Yeah.
that
Oh, no.
looked so
Yeah, when
bad
we were
on our
little
fair
kids.
skin. You bought a yellow dress for your very fair
No,
daughter.
someone gave it to us.
Oh, it was just like it was such a cute dress. You wanted to look good on you, but
You just
you
looked-
just looked ill. And then it had a sty, and I wore it for like a school picture. It was so alarming. And I think Rosie did the same thing. So yellow is not a good family color.
Well, that's true, although it's not bad now for me, but it was a disaster in those days. And I remember thinking to myself, just getting this.
The bridesmaid, how dare you?
It's like, and it's the only thing I asked you not to do.
But like, how did even Judy from back east get the bridesmaid's dress?
She
just had one waiting for her?
They probably, as soon as they picked it out, sent her one
To get
she could have it
altered.
fitted
Oh, okay,
and
okay.
everything and bring it with her.
Okay, so now
So that was the one I was missing.
that was the bridesmaid you were missing.
And
Okay.
I've gone to visit her and stayed with her several times when and she came and went to this religious ed congress with me.
Oh.
Just, maybe like 10 years ago. Well,
What?
yeah.
I mean, I've never heard of her before.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
And she sounds cool. I like that she was like, haha, nice.
Well, anyway.
Yellow.
Anyway, and then she who became
Wait, did you not see the dress? Did you know beforehand? Or
No.
Oh my gosh, you walked up on your wedding. We're like, they're all going to be a great coral, a blue,
because
what? A yellow.
Therese had to go for a fitting, so I knew.
Did Therese, what did Therese think of the dress? She'd
She
have an
looked
opinion.
good in it. Her coloring was completely different
Oh,
than mine.
okay, she's good,
She had
beautiful.
lovely brown hair and rosy
Yes,
cheeks.
Sandy wasn't going to look so good in a yellow sand-colored dress.
Yes.
Yeah, it wasn't even a bright yellow. Anyway, and Isa then taught at the school that Kathy went to, my best friend of note now.
Kathy Delgado?
Yeah.
Wow.
She taught several of her family, and she drove me nuts when I was having James call me all the time. So we called her when he was born at 3:00 in the morning. And she ended up marrying a Lutheran minister.
How is she not one of the godmothers? We ended up with a whole topic about how you pick godparents. This obviously is a bone of contention for him. Like, she sounds awesome. Okay, so, all right. So now we can't even get into the full wedding day. So,
We'll pause for a second because I do want to say, not being able to ask the other person at the wedding, we may have missed who were the groomsmen.
oh, yeah.
Well,
/ any
John
other
was-
dude details you could throw in there because all we got was the lady
That's
stories.
true. Was John Burns one of them?
John Burns, the guy who was the usher,
Yeah.
was in it, which, Dad was having a fit because he was supposed to be at the wedding. He's going to be at the wedding reception to act as a bartender. And my 3 brothers.
Oh, he had all your brothers. Because he didn't have a brother. His brother had passed
No,
away as
yeah.
a baby, basically.
Yeah.
And so Johnny Burns, who is Jack's godfather, by the way.
But not Basil?
No, he didn't live here. And, people didn't do that then. I mean, you didn't ask somebody who lived in Philadelphia to be in your wedding.
So it was almost immediate family and then maybe close friends
Yeah.
in the area.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because John Burns was someone that he met pretty much in his first few weeks here in Los Angeles as an actor.
In the waiting line at Pasadena Playhouse.
Pasadena Playhouse. And, we've known him our whole lives. And like I said, he's one of our nephew's godfather. And it's the reason why Rosie and Kirk got met and married.
He's passed away now, but
Yeah.
that's how they met.
He has played a pinnacle role in our lives the entire time. John Burns, a shout out to you.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, gosh, he must have had a ball at this wedding. This just seems like exactly his
Oh, yeah. Yeah, his
world.
vibe.
Oh, yeah. I mean, so Dad had an equal amount, 6 groomsmen, it sounds like.
Yeah. So I'm trying to think who else was it.
Yeah, I feel like you're missing one dude.
So I can't remember who. I'll
We'll
tell
have to
you.
go to some pictures.
Another time.
Yep. Yeah, we'll have to go look at the book.
You can be sure I wasn't paying any attention to the group.
I mean, it's insane.
And one more thing about the pre-wedding setup, who's there and what's going on. I had always thought, because Dad was an actor and he'd been in movies and, he'd been around a bit, that's how Bob Willoughby, well-known at the time, but now very well-known photographer, got involved. I was wrong, because it's not that story, Mom.
No. When I was 16, my parents went out for the evening. Not unusual, but they came home with someone from where they went.
Oh, like had collected a friend.
Yeah.
Like a brand new friend.
And it was early
We
enough.
picked up a stray.
Yeah, it was still up. And it was this kind of cute guy. And I was way too young, but it was really cute. And he said, I came home with your parents to meet you. And I said, why? It was like, so they were talking about you, and I just couldn't believe it. You can't be like that. And I thought, what do they say? Well, anyway, we ended up having a fascinating conversation, and he and I became friends. And he had me as a
subject of study.
A study to use on a album cover that he was doing for someone. And, I met his wife when they were engaged and got a big crush on his assistant, which I found out a lot later. He liked me too. But Bob said she is too young for you.
Oh, we could have had a very different direction in life,
Good
people.
job, Bob.
Yeah, no kidding. And anyway, he ended up moving to a castle in Ireland and living there.
Oh,
and
wow.
then they moved to
Wait, the
Provence.
assistant or Bob?
No, Bob and his children.
Okay.
You really missed out. The assistant moved to a castle.
What?
We
No.
could have been royalty.
No, but then Bob and Dorothy moved to Provence.
Okay, but
Wow.
how? So that's an interesting just how you met him, but how, you maintained a friendship. Then you're getting married.
And did you remember that one of the pictures from my wedding ended up all over the world?
It's your two
That's one of the
aunts.
That's one of the really interesting parts about having him as your photographer. No standard wedding photography pictures. There's not a group shot. There's all these action shots. There's like candids.
very editorial.
It's
Yeah.
his style. So, but how did he become part of this whole wedding?
Who asked him?
setup?
That's a big favor.
You know, whatever.
One of
Bob,
my
it's
parents.
I'm getting married in a month. Could you come by? Oh, a month? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I don't remember how some of these things got set up, but it was just fine. I mean, I loved it. It never bothered me with, now we're going to take 18 shots and keep everybody waiting for 3 hours.
No, you have nothing
everybody.
traditional like that at
Yeah,
all.
no.
So now you've made it to the church. The bridesmaids are there in yellow. The groomsmen,
In morning suits.
yes. Oh,
What is a morning suit?
It has a long back tail that's split.
Oh, okay. And kind of a wider tie situation, not like a bow tie, right?
So your wedding would have been considered, in today's terms, black tie, fancy.
Very traditional.
Yeah. Okay. And you had
What time was the wedding? Was it like
Yeah,
morning?
Yeah, it was the morning.
Morning. Okay.
so then you have a morning wedding, and you have the full mass.
Oh, yeah,
Of course.
of course.
200 people in the church.
Yeah.
Wow.
But it looked like a lot because of the way the church was set up.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, you seem like a packed house.
Yeah.
Okay, so if the wedding is in the morning, did they come back to the house immediately?
Yep,
Or
yep.
so for like lunch,
There was
really?
none of this, wait for 2 hours while we do shots and all that kind of stuff, because that's not what we were doing. Mm-hmm. And I remember we got into a reception line right away, and Frank came over to me and he said, I need something to eat or I'll faint. I thought, oh my God. That would be so
I'm happy to be married to you. I am about to faint, though.
Oh, jeez.
Wait, how did you get back to your house? Was there a fancy car?
Oh,
with,
yeah, there was a limousine.
Oh, all right.
Because even though you had an older brother, you're the first wedding in the family.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they did it right, it sounds like.
Did it up.
Yeah, they did.
This is like father of the bride at the wedding in the backyard.
Yeah. It sounds more elegant than the planning would indicate. But it came off beautifully. And we left. Of course, I had a going away outfit.
No, we can't skip that far forward because the reception.
We haven't had cake. There's no speeches. We got to have a
I don't
little
think
more
there
time
was
at your
a
wedding.
speech. I don't remember anything about it except Frank threatening to faint.
But there was live music. There's pictures of a piano player and the horn player, which was your uncle Eddie.
Right.
That's right, whom Eddie is named after.
Right.
Yep.
So it seemed very raucous, like there was live music.
Well, that was my dad and mom's friends. That's all of them played instruments and they sang when they got together for parties. We had formal parties when I was a little kid in our house. And people would come like in full-length dresses and stuff.
And there'd be cocktails before.
Oh, yeah. And
After dinner cocktails, a full sit-down dinner.
I mean, it's just crazy.
And there was a
full-on
piano
50s
that-
swing in time.
Yeah, any
And
smoking
my dad,
cocktails.
My dad played violin.
That I knew,
as
right.
well as French horn. And his brother played. Irene played. I can't even remember.
Wait, who's Irene?
Irene, one of my parents' friends, that Dad and I and James stayed at their house when we went back to visit one time. And Loretta, Jack Sonier's mom and dad were there. Because they were,
friends of the family.
they went back to their grandmothers were friends.
Right.
I mean,
So they were playing live music during your reception.
oh, yeah. And just, it was just.
Did it go till
happy.
the evening? Like if it's
I don't know. We left about 2.
I mean, were you drunk? What is happening here? Why do you remember this? I mean, you have lots of champagne. I mean, now it's self-service. That bartender ditched you guys. I mean, that is crazy.
Oh, it's funny.
Because 200 people in your parents' backyard.
Yeah.
And you left at 2:00 and you headed to.
Who knew? I get in the car, all of my fancy duds, and we start driving up the coast. And I think, oh, Santa Barbara, that's so nice. And, we could have gotten one of those little cottage things.
On the Miramar.
At the Miramar. That
Yeah.
was fabulous. No. We get halfway up, it seems, and we turn back, and we're going to Santa Monica, what was the big hotel in
I
Santa
thought
Monica?
you went to the Bel Air Hotel.
That's where we ended up. But I was thinking to myself as we're driving into Santa Monica, oh, I don't want to go to the Miramar. We had our prom there. You know?
Oh no, that's the Miramar Santa Barbara. So Santa Barbara, that would have been lovely, a little cottage there. What was that trying to fool you? Why was he going one direction, another direction? You don't know where he was.
Yeah, sure. I mean, just, get me a little off base.
Because really, at this point,
that sounds like 100% classic dad. Oh, we're just going to go for a drive for about 45 minutes. Where? Out and then back.
Maybe the room at the Bel Air Hotel was not available yet. It's like, don't show up until 4.
Check-in is at 3:30.
Jeez, right. And because at this point, you're only going to have a 24-hour
Just
honeymoon,
about.
a getaway, because you have to work on Monday, right?
Yeah.
Now, I mean, not to. So, were you anxious about your wedding night?
Oh, wow. Liz, going for the
I
question.
was certainly thinking about it. And, in those days, you weren't doing anything before.
Right. That's what I'm implying, but let's go for it.
Something, but, not it.
Not the thing.
You're not having
You were
intercourse.
fooling around, but you hadn't gone that far.
No,
That's a
Catholic
very nice
girl?
way to put it.
Oh, yeah.
Trying desperately to keep it nice.
That's quite nice. And so we end up going to the Bel Air Hotel, which is gorgeous.
It still is gorgeous.
Yeah.
And, swans in the pond and the whole deal.
Yep.
And their honeymoon suite is above a arcade, this kind of thing where a colonnade, arcade, an outside corridor.
Beautiful.
So there's nothing on any side of you.
well, they decided
Total privacy.
leave him alone. The honeymoon suite.
Yeah.
Nice.
And so we had a very nice time. And and we had dinner in our room. And what we had peach soup.
Peach
I
soup.
remember I never had it before. I don't think I ever had it.
Chilled.
After. It was lovely.
Yeah. That's
Yeah. And champagne. And I don't remember what else. But we had espresso.
At night or
Well,
afternoon or whatever.
We
it
were
was?
pretty young. Didn't bother me at all till I was in my 60s. Anyway. And
We know it never bothered Dad.
No,
Dad
ever.
You can have
Not
caffeine
ever.
anytime, day or night.
Yeah. And then somebody's at the door. We're thinking, what the hell? Somebody's at the door. And it was the waiter come back for the tray. So you're not going to get left with these tray of dirty dishes in your room. And Dad took off for the bathroom, and I put on my lovely negligee cover. Is that what it's called?
Robe, like a robe, yeah.
Yeah. And so anyway, he comes in, and we hadn't had the, I didn't think we drank the espresso. And he said, didn't you like the espresso? And I said, well, I've never had it before. Oh, did you put some sugar in it? I said, no, because I didn't take my coffee with sugar in it. So he's giving me and it sounded like a lecture on getting used. And he said, it's an acquired taste, and it gets to be, quite lovely. And you put a little lemon and he's telling me all these things, and I'm thinking, this sounds like sweet grandpa giving you a lecture on what the first night is going to be like.
Oh.
Oh, is this the honeymoon suite? Well, let me describe how to have an espresso. It's very exciting. It might get all over your face if you don't drink it right.
Oh, my God.
Jeez, dude.
It was so
Jeez.
funny. And Frank didn't hear any of it, but he was there quite a while. And Frank even said, what were you talking about? And I tried to explain it to Frank. He was like, what?
I think he was
Oh,
talking
my.
about not espresso.
And to our
espresso.
father responding like, well, I like a drip coffee, so I don't know what that was all
Oh,
about.
my gosh.
Aw.
So you have no idea how long the reception party went on after you left?
And, I'm sure it went till all hours.
Oh,
My
probably.
parents and their
They didn't even know who
friends.
Frank was. They were there for a
didn't care.
party.
Yeah.
They did not care.
And they were, it was a great excuse for lots of people to come out who never came again and never came before that. That they were that good friends. My dad would travel.
to visit
but,
the coutures on the West Coast.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
Ooh, coutourism.
Yeah.
boom.
Visiting your cousins all around the world.
Let's wrap up the honeymoon.
Oh, so, yeah, because it's so short, it won't be a problem. So anyway, I don't really remember what we did for breakfast, but we did go to Mass. And
Wait, you'd been at Mass? Oh, because it's Sunday. Okay.
yeah, in those days, they didn't have vigil masses.
Sorry, before we
Didn't count.
continue further with Sunday morning, the night after the first night, it was July 4th. I am just clarifying. Were there fireworks?
Oh, yeah.
Pun intended. Thank you.
Oh, my God.
Well,
the
Dad-
actual
Dad
fireworks.
expected that would be a humorous way to always remember it. He was, this was not accidental. And it was all his idea.
But then you probably, because Bel Air Hotel is up a canyon, sort of deep, so you might not have, you didn't see fireworks, did you?
I don't remember them at all.
Literally or figuratively? No, just kidding.
No.
So, but I bet everybody back at your parents' house saw fireworks.
Yeah, I'm sure.
All right, so then...
So anyway, I don't know what all we...
Did you go to St. Martin de Tours for
I think
Mass?
we went to St. Monica's.
Oh, okay.
And then, I don't know, I think we went to noon Mass. I think the dad was lovely about, poking
Well, yeah, you might
around
want
in
to
the morning.
check out,
And so then we come out, and then we end up going to Tay's.
Taix.
X.
It
The
existed
French
till
restaurant, and
somewhat
it
recently, I
was
think.
Closed for a
they
short time,
finally?
but it did reopen. I've done my research on that one. It's back open again.
Okay, great.
Oh,
Okay.
I love
However-
that place. They had 2 locations, and we went to the other location, which they don't have anymore.
Yes.
And you would sit at a, like a family-style table, and, I brought a dress to wear out to dinner on Sunday. And, it was just such a weird feeling to be sitting there, and you're married. And this is your husband. And we're in this French restaurant. I can still remember how I felt. It was just like I had entered a whole new world.
I have some tidbit of a story that the waiter that waited on you at that time, continued to work at that Takes for the next 45 years or something like that. And
I'd be surprised if he isn't still there.
no, and I think you and I went maybe in the last 5 years to check it out. I'd never been there. I was like, oh, there's a coupon. Let's go. Oh, this isn't the one. This is the second location. Okay. And then we read a little article in that location that guy had retired the year before. And she's like, that's the waiter that Dad and I had.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So he worked there his entire life.
Over 50 years.
Wow,
yeah.
that's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, I want to get to it, but I feel like, yes, let's not. The next thing has to be moving in together and really getting into your work life, which I think is the next episode.
Yeah, I think.
No, the next episode was Frank had to get up at the first thing on Monday morning to drive me downtown to work.
Yeah, your work life,
And
including
he
Frank
was
giving
not
you a
a
ride.
get up early person at
But
all.
we like I said, I think it's a longer or maybe more in depth, and we'll do the next story. I want to know how you officially moved out of your parents' house. You left your car there, but we'll get to that the next episode.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, thank you, Mom, for joining us. And we have a plan for the next time. So
I want to meet Roberta.
and Liz wants to meet Roberta. So,
I'll set
I
it
guess
up.
we all do. We'll have to have some kind of family dinner, and then we'll talk about that. All right. Thank you for coming in, Mom. And everybody who's listening, thank you for listening to Family Dynamics, and follow us on all of our social media at Family Dynamics with a K. And you can always join us on our Patreon, which is also Family Dynamics. And thank you for listening to Family
Family
Dynamics.
Dynamics.